From Henry VIII's reign to Elizabeth I's ascent and the development of a strong navy, England's history is replete with abrupt changes in power. It encompasses the chaos of the Glorious Revolution, the English Civil War, and the growth of the British Empire. England's path to becoming a world power is replete with victories, setbacks, and inventions. The main characters and occasions that shaped England's transition from the Middle Ages to the modern era are examined in this tale. Captivating history is the source of this video. Invasion, cultural revolution, and transformation are all part of England's history. The low-lying region of present-day England was flooded, forming an island, as the Ice Age came to an end and sea levels rose. Although modern humans first inhabited it during the Upper Paleolithic era, the Angles, a Germanic tribe from the Anglia Peninsula, gave it its name in the 5th and 6th centuries. Following the Ice Age, the Iron Age saw the development of farming technology, which enabled the nomadic peoples to establish settlements and the emergence of the first farmsteads. Hunting remained a source of food during this time. The Bronze Age, which lasted from 2500 to about 800 CE, was named after the Celtic people's use of bronze and copper to make tools, weapons, and ornaments. Large stone gathering spots, or henges, like Avebury and Stonehenge, were built during this time. The Roman Emperor Julius Caesar eventually became aware of the Celts, and in 55 BCE he sent a military expedition to England, but was unable to subjugate it. Emperor Claudius led a successful invasion of England in 43 CE, and the Romans dominated the country as a colony for the next 600 years. They carried aspects of their own culture with them. They built cities and roads with theaters, aqueducts, baths, and forums. The Anglo-Roman population increased as traders and artisans arrived. To deter Pict and Scots attacks, Emperor Hadrian ordered the construction of a huge wall between England and Scotland. In 120 CE, known as Hadrian's Wall, it delineated the Roman Empire's northern frontier. Rome fell to a Visigoth army in 410 CE, leaving England to defend itself after troops were pulled out of England to protect it as the empire began to fall apart. Around 450 AD, a local king named Vortigern invited Danish mercenaries to protect his region of England from Pict and Scots-led attacks. The first Saxon kingdom of England was founded by the Danes, who betrayed their host. A patchwork of rival Saxon and Anglo kingdoms that were constantly at war was created due to other mercenary groups invading. These conflicts were referred to as the Dark Ages, when Christian-inspired Anglo-Saxon literature and art evolved. The frequent invasions by Viking armies, who established settlements and seized control of Saxon kingdoms, violently ended this era. After numerous conflicts, the various kingdoms were finally brought together under Æthelstan's rule, resulting in the creation of a single England. Following Edward the Confessor's death in 1066, Harold I, the heir apparent, Harold Hardrada, King of Norway, and William of Normandy were the three contenders for the English throne. Two invasions resulted from this rivalry. William defeated Harold I at Hastings, defeating the Viking army at Stamford Bridge. William crowned himself king on Christmas Day, 1066, after Harold's death. William built several massive stone castles and gave his lords large swaths of land to keep the vanquished Saxons under control. He ordered a thorough inventory of all English lands to be made to raise money. This project eventually became the Domesday Book. King John, who succeeded William, seized what he needed from the populace by force because he felt above the law. The barons, however, disagreed with his demands, and in 1215 they gave the king an ultimatum in what is now known as the Magna Carta. King John passed away the year after it was signed, and his 9-year-old son Henry inherited the throne in 1216. The Black Death, a plague that killed 1/3 of England's population, ravaged the country over the following century. The Tudor dynasty started in 1485 when Henry Tudor defeated Richard III at the Battle of Bosworth Field. Although Henry VII was a wise ruler, he ordered his younger son Henry to wed Arthur's widow Catherine after his son Arthur was killed. The wedding came after the coronation of Henry VIII and his son, who was 18 at the time. Henry divorced Catherine after they had been married for 20 years and had one daughter, Mary, because she had failed to bear him a son. He broke with the Catholic Church and proclaimed himself the head of the Church of England to secure the divorce. He wed Anne Boleyn in 1533. Elizabeth is the second daughter of this marriage. He had Anne tried for treason 3 years later. In 1536, she was put to death in the Tower of London. Henry VIII had 6 marriages. He had a son with Jane. Seymour during his third marriage. Edward is his name. Jane passed away soon after the birth of her son. After Henry died in 1547, the throne passed to 9-year-old Edward. However, when he passed away at the age of 15, the throne went to his cousin Jane Grey, who was overthrown 9 days later by Mary, Edward's older half-sister, who wished for England to return to Catholicism. Elizabeth became queen after she passed away in 1558 without having children. During a prosperous era known as England's Golden Age, the navy that Henry VIII had established became England's primary defense force, and how the English explored, colonized, and traded throughout the world under Elizabeth I. Elizabeth didn't get married. As she passed away, she expressed her desire for Scotland's James VI to take her place. James VI of Scotland thus became James I of England in 1603. Some discord stemmed from his debts and his Catholic baptism, which led to the infamous gunpowder plot assassination attempt. Charles, his son and successor, ascended to the throne in 1625. He did not trust the English Parliament because he felt that God had made him king. He rejected it between 1629 and 1640, opting instead to rule by royal decree, which sparked the English Civil War. On January 26, 1649, Charles I was put on trial for treason, found guilty, and decapitated. The war came to an end on September 3, 1651, when King Charles II's royalists were routed by Cromwell's parliamentarian New Model Army at the Battle of Worcester. Following Charles's banishment, the monarchy was superseded by the Commonwealth of England, and subsequently the Protectorate, which Oliver Cromwell personally oversaw. Richard, Cromwell's son, succeeded him as Lord Protector in 1658, but he lacked his father's skills. He resigned in May 1659, and Charles II succeeded him thanks to arrangements made by Parliament. Several English politicians protested and wrote to William of Orange, a well-liked Protestant who had wed James II's daughter, when the Catholic James II ascended to the throne in 1685. On November 5, 1688, he landed at Brixham after accepting the offer and started to march toward London. James II fled to France before his arrival, and William and his queen, Mary II, were crowned on April 21, 1689. Together, they held power until Mary's passing in 1694. William survived for 10 years before passing away in 1702, the year Mary's sister Anne took the throne. The Georgian period, which includes the brief reign of William IV and is named after the 4 Hanoverian George, began when Anne passed away in 1714. It refers to the architectural, fashion, and social and political history that took place between 1714 and the 1830s. England became one of the richest nations in the world during this time, which coincided with the beginning of the Industrial Revolution, which started around 1769 and continued into the 1840s. But it was also the time when England's colonies in America were no longer under its authority. Queen Victoria ruled Great Britain, Canada, Australia, India, New Zealand, and portions of Africa when she ascended to the throne in 1837 at the age of 18. An unparalleled number of discoveries and inventions were ushered in by her reign. Significant progress in the arts, industrialization, and the development of steam power had all occurred during her reign, which ended in 1902. Victoria's death marked the start of the 20th century, and her son Edward took over. The era of Edwardian England was one of pleasure and decadence, but he was only in power for 9 years. George V, his son, succeeded him after he died in 1910. The First World War, 1914 to 1918, had a lengthy and drawn-out cause, with Germany declaring war on Russia on August 1, 1914, and France 3 days later, drawing every European nation into the conflict. Britain also declared war on August 4th. The bloodiest war in human history came to an end on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month in 1918. In 1918, Some women who had held positions typically held by men were given the right to vote as a result of the war, and in 1928, all women were given the same voting rights as men. Following World War I, England experienced a period of unrest during which various industrial workers went on strike in demand of better working conditions and higher wages. This led to the general strike of 1926 and the Depression, a financial collapse. King George V passed away in January 1936, and his eldest son, Edward VIII, took over as king. But Edward had developed feelings for Wallis Simpson, an American divorcee. A member of the royal family was not permitted to wed a divorcee, even in the 1930s, and Edward was unwilling to end his relationship. He abdicated and gave his brother the throne on December 11, 1936. When England resisted Nazi Germany's aggression in 1939, war broke out once more. After it ended in 1945, London and England started to be rebuilt. The Festival of Britain was held in 1951 to commemorate the country's recovery. With the development of the pill, the 1960s witnessed a massive social and sexual revolution. At the same time, bands like the Beatles dominated youth culture, and Swinging London set global fashion trends. Significant technological advancements were also made during this time, including the landing on the moon, supersonic travel, the EEC's admission, and the rise of London as a major international financial hub. But as the 20th century drew to a close, England's influence started to decline. Only time will tell where it will end up and where it will stand in the world in the 21st century. Read our book, History of England, a captivating guide to English history, to learn more about the history of England from antiquity to the end of World War II and the reign of the Anglo-Saxons, Vikings, Normans, and Tudors. It comes in paperback, audiobook, and ebook formats. Additionally, while the Mythology Bundle ebook is still available, be sure to download it for free. The description contains all of the links. For more videos like this, please subscribe and hit the like button if you liked the video.